Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Faren, your fashion guru. This is day 4 of the So Sustainable Christmas projects. If you didn't catch the tutorial yesterday, this is one of the things that we made. This cute hoodie out of a blanket. You can go check that tutorial after this one, obviously, because you came here to learn how to make mittens out of jeans. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. I'm gonna show you how to make jeans look fuzzy. An amazing, super fun, easy technique. So let's get into it. So this is my fashion studio. My name is Faren. I have to say, guys, I'm really excited about this tutorial. I worked really hard on it, and I have some freebies to give away. I have made at least 6 or 7 of these mittens to test out a pattern. Yes, that's right. My gift to you is a free pattern. You need to download the link in the description below. So go to the description, click on the link right there, and it takes you to the pattern, which you can download. You print it out, you cut it, and we can go through the steps on how to actually sew this thing. So you have your pattern, that's great. Then from there, you need to add seam allowance. I didn't add seam allowance on the pattern because everybody's seam allowance is going to be a bit different, right? I suggest a 1/4 inch all the way around except for the hem. The hem has to be a 1/2 inch. Go get those jeans that you never wear and let's cut them up. All right, so if you've never cut out a pattern before, go to this link right here and I will show you step by step on how to cut out a pattern. So you have your pieces cut out. We're going to also need a lining. I have provided you with the lining pattern as well. The lining pattern is not the same as the self pattern, so I don't want you to be confused. Is approximately 1/8 of an inch smaller all the way around, and in some places they're the same as the self. Anyways, you don't need that much detail. All you need to know is you need to cut out a lining piece. This could be the scraps from the project you did yesterday. Wink, wink. Check out this link here. Okay, so you've cut out your lining, you've cut out your denim. Wait, no. You also need some insulation. So if you don't have insulation on hand, if you have like a very puffy blanket or something, you can use that too. Why not? One other tip, your self fabric is your denim. I just wanna make that clear that there are cut 4. So we need double the amount of denim on top, then the insulation, and then this right here, very thin organza trim. I'm using it as a backing for my insulation. This part is important. You don't want your insulation to get stuck on your feed dogs. You could also use some sort of light cotton or some sort of other fabric that's really lightweight. Just something to keep it from sticking. That's a lot of information, I know, but really it's super simple. I will show you all the pieces. 4 pieces of denim for the top of the mitten. 2 insulation, you need your cheap organza, 2 of those. Okay, you don't need to cut 4 of these. This is the top of the mitt. You only need 2, because this is the lining now. Then we need this piece, 2 of those, this 2, and this 2. We're gonna talk about how to make denim look like this. Isn't that cool? I'm gonna show you a really easy technique on how to do this. So you've cut everything, and now we're gonna go to the sewing machine. This technique I actually learned in school like a million years ago. I recently saw this technique from a designer. I can't remember the designer's name, but here is the photo. This is the inspiration that sparked this idea to make denim fuzzy. Here's what we're gonna do. You need 4 pieces. For the top of this, we're gonna be doing a trapunto stitch. Basically rows of stitching that are closely together. And then we're going to be cutting the top fabric. That's why you need another layer underneath. If you move your hand, you're going to see denim underneath. That could actually be a very good opportunity to add even a contrasting color, a contrasting fabric underneath. The top could be denim, but the bottom could be like a colored fabric. When I say cut for the self, I mean, you're the designer. You can do whatever you want. And that's the coolest part. I'm gonna just show you the technique, and that's when you take your creativity to the next level. All right, listen up. We need this guy underneath. So kind of plop that on there. The insulation piece for the top, it's gonna get too bulky in the seam allowance, so you don't have to put seam allowance on. This is why you need this piece as well. This holds the insulation in and it holds it to the seam allowance. Got it? Cool. We've set it up, we're good. Okay, so you checked that everything fits. You can pin it. Guys, I'm not much of a pinner. I'm sorry, but I'm not. I'm gonna start with a basting stitch all the way around to hold all of our pieces together. We're basting at 1/4 inch. Pivot. Woohoo! Take your clear ruler. What we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be drawing diagonal lines across the piece because cutting on the bias works the best. Horizontally or vertically, it just ends up becoming stringy. Just trust me on this. We're gonna get that fuzzy look, okay, that we're going for. You can start anywhere on your piece because we're going to draw lines every 1/4 inch, and you just have to draw 2 or 3 guidelines, and then you can figure it out on your machine. Once you get to the end, just lift up your presser foot and pivot, and you can go to the next line here, which is at 1/4 inch. Okay, so I didn't draw all of my lines, but I can just use my presser foot as a guide. Whoa. It's okay if it's not super perfect. You won't really notice when you have all of your pieces cut. We have to do the whole piece, 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch. So it's gonna take some time. Anyway, zip, zip, zip. Okay, so we finished all of our rows of stitching. And this is what the back looks like. And this is what the front looks like. This is the tricky part. You have to take your clippers and you have to just stick your clippers under the first layer of denim. And what you're gonna be doing is you're gonna be cutting in between that row of stitching. This is going to take some time, so you kind of need some patience with this. Make sure not to cut the second layer of denim. You technically have to do all of these rows. The seam ripper is quicker than the clippers. However, there's more potential for errors when it comes to poking into your fabric. It's like if you go too fast, you could zip through some stitches. So just be careful when you're using this. So guys, it looks like this. Are you ready for the exciting part? You will need a dog brush. We need to brush what we just did. This is what makes the fluffy effect. So we take our piece and we're just brushing it like crazy. Yeah. So we're trying to take up the fibers here. And the stitches is what actually keeps the rows in place. And another reason why we're doing it on the bias is because we won't have the fraying like this. We'll have more fluff. It does take some elbow grease. Listen, I've tried it with a comb, I've tried it with a normal hairbrush, and it doesn't work. It needs the abrasive brush of a dog brush. Who knew you could make something fluffy out of denim? We need to move on to the actual mitt. Okay. You'll see on the pattern letters A, B, C, D, E, and G. You get it. This is the sequence that you need to sew it. Okay, so you take the thumb piece and the piece with the keyhole, and what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be sewing it, right sides together, obviously, around this keyhole. First, you're looking at it and you're like, Faren, I'm sorry, that's not gonna fit. Yes, it does. I've tried this 6 times before and it does fit. It's basically, you're really stretching this piece out and you're easing this one in. All right, we're sewing everything at 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so I have my needle down, and what I'm doing is I'm taking this piece and I'm straightening it out in order to sew this piece at 1/4 of an inch. Slow and steady wins the race. It's okay that this piece overlaps, because what you're doing is you're aiming your stitches right here. That's your seam allowance. So these pieces are going to match perfectly. All right, so that looks really good. And congratulations, this is the hardest part of the whole mitten. Flip this over to this side. And you can see that there's a lot of tension on this seam here because this has been all stretched out to fit this. So what you're gonna have to do is clip this curve here and release some of that tension. Just like this, in here. So you're just clipping along the curve. Okay, so now that we've released some of that tension, oh, that feels so much better. Oh yeah. I'm just gonna top stitch here at about 1/16 of an inch, almost an edge stitch right here along the seam. I'm just pushing my seam allowance towards the mitt and not the thumb. Whoa. Thumb. And top stitch. Looks great. We're going to be taking our other thumb piece. It has a straight edge right here. This edge matches up with this straight edge. Cool, right? This is cut on the bias for a reason. And this piece needs to stretch and needs to be eased into this piece, which is a little bit smaller than this. So you have to take it easy going around the curve here. Okay, get to the corner. And then you take a pivot. Matching your hem. Okay. You have stitched your thumb. Cool. You're going to have to clip your seam allowance. Just a little bit. When you have a curved seam going this way and there's tension on this seam, which we just did, we clipped in, right? But when you have a curved seam going out, when you turn everything to the right side, your seam allowance is gonna get all weird and bunchy and it's not gonna sit so flat. So what you do is you clip little triangles in your seam allowance. Now we're gonna flip it onto the other side. There, now we have a thumb shape. I'm moving this seam allowance towards the hem, and I'm just stitching here to line up with this stitch, and then this seam allowance I am moving towards this side, and I'm just top stitching down this way to match this top stitching. You get it. Place the elastic, which shows you on the pattern where to place it, and you stitch it. You could do a zigzag, you could do a straight stitch, no big deal. And this is where our elastic needs to go. We're gonna be sewing this piece together with the back of the hand or the top or whatever. I don't know if you can see that, but there is a notch right here. And that notch is supposed to match up with this seam at the side here. Giving it a good old pin out. And then matching up your hem here, giving that a good old pin. Matching the other hem over here on the other side. Guys, I don't think you need to know how to pin this, right? Do you? We're going to have to ease a little bit of this cap in to this. Now, before you turn to the other side, we're going to clip the curve again. Just a little bit. Okay, it just looks like that. Flippy, flippy. That looks great. Okay, we have our lining pieces. Hopefully it's something fuzzy. We do the exact same operation that we did for the mitten. I'm gonna go do that, and you can come back when I'm done. Done your lining. Woo, fantastic. Now we're gonna stick this. You don't have to flip it or anything. You just, with the raw edges, they go inside, so you're basically just clean finishing your mitt. Okay, that fits. Looks good. And then we're just gonna do a basting stitch all the way around at the hem, and then we're gonna put a binding on, and then finito. I'm basting at 1/4 inch if you wanted to know. Matching my seams, blah, blah, blah. Come on guys, you gotta know this already. I'm taking my binding and I'm just matching it up with the seam. I am folding it over about 1/2 inch. And then we're just gonna go around the whole mitt and we're gonna pin. Pin, pin. So we're just gonna leave this free up until we get around stitching. We're stitching this hem allowance at 1/2 inch. Cut that off. Yeah. And then what we do is we just flip this over like so. And then what I'm going to be doing is just top stitching all the way around my glove at 1/2 inch. It won't go in my machine. Hi, get in there. What are you doing? There you have it. Mittens out of jeans. Fuzzy mittens. If you made these mittens for somebody special, I would love to see what you made. Tag us on Instagram at LTRL Trend. That would be fantastic. Also, join us on our Telegram group. You can chat with me real time, and you can share the picture of your project there. Stay tuned for tomorrow, the last day of the So Sustainable Christmas projects. This is your fashion guru signing off. Bye! I need to go have some spaghetti. Let's get into the tutorial today. I actually have no idea how I'm going to structure this tutorial today. I don't know what I'm going to say, so it's just going to come out as vomit, okay?